What if everything you have ever believed about money, power, and the future is a carefully constructed lie? By the time you finish your next cup of coffee, the $2 trillion you thought were safe in the global banking system will have already begun to evaporate. Most people think the recent conflicts in the Middle East are just regional border disputes. They are wrong. You are watching the synchronized heart attack of the global economy. We were told the future was electric. We were told oil was a relic of the past. But the truth is terrifying. Our entire modern civilization is still just 3 blocked shipping lanes away from the Stone Age. If you do not watch this video until the very end, you will spend the rest of your life trapped in an invisible financial prison. The car in your driveway is about to become a useless monument to a dead era. Listen closely. Welcome to the invisible trap. Let us talk about the complete breakdown of common sense. Traditional economics is like a broken compass. It points north, but if you follow it, you will walk directly off a cliff. Common sense tells you that if the supply of a resource drops, the price simply goes up. It is a basic equation of supply and demand. You learned this in middle school. But look at the raw data from the 2026 crisis. When the Strait of Hormuz was restricted, the rules of the game changed forever. The Strait of Hormuz is the throat of the world. It is a narrow stretch of water only 21 miles wide. Every single day, 20 million barrels of oil must pass through this tiny choke point to keep humanity moving. When that throat is squeezed, the price of Brent crude oil does not just rise. It completely disconnects from reality. $250 a barrel, $300 a barrel. Those are just meaningless numbers flashing on a screen. The real crisis is something you cannot see on a chart. The real crisis is the insurability gap. This is the poisoned chalice of our modern logistics system. Let me explain how the global economy actually works. It does not run on oil. It runs on a specific type of paper. It runs on insurance. Before a massive oil tanker can even start its giant engines, it requires a comprehensive maritime insurance policy. That piece of paper covers the multi-million-dollar ship, the crew, and the incredibly valuable cargo. Without that paper, the ship is completely dead in the water. It cannot move a single inch. It cannot legally enter any port. Now imagine a major conflict breaks out in the middle of the Strait of Hormuz. Missiles are flying. Suddenly, the insurance companies sitting in comfortable offices in London and New York panic. They calculate the risk of a missile hitting a massive tanker. They decide the risk is mathematically too high. In a matter of minutes, they cancel the insurance policies for every single cargo ship in that specific region. This is the truly terrifying part that no one understands. Even if the oil is successfully pumped out of the desert sand, and even if the ship is fully loaded and ready to sail, it will not move. If a tanker cannot be insured, it does not sail. And if the ships do not sail, the global supply chain freezes instantly. It is a sudden, fatal heart attack for the modern world. Think about your local supermarket. You walk in and you expect to see fresh fruit, meat, and bread. You assume it will always be there because it has always been there. But modern grocery stores are a trap. They do not have massive storage warehouses in the back anymore. They rely on something called just-in-time delivery. Massive trucks bring new food to the store every single day. Those large trucks run entirely on diesel fuel. That diesel fuel comes directly from the oil that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. If the ship stops sailing, the oil refineries on the coast stop working. If the refineries stop working, the trucks stop rolling. It takes exactly 72 hours for a major modern city to completely run out of food. Just 3 days from civilization to chaos. On day 1, regular people notice the gas prices spiking at the pump, and they start to panic buy. On day 2, the fresh produce section in the store is completely empty. By day 3, the canned goods, the medicine, and the bottled water are entirely gone. Society begins to fracture and break down. This is the ultimate paradox of modernity. The more advanced our technology becomes, the more fragile our daily survival actually is. We hold supercomputers in our pockets that can talk to satellites in space, but our ability to feed our families depends on a few giant steel boats moving through a dangerous 21-mile waterway. The wealthy elites know this dark truth. They understand the mechanics of the invisible trap. They know that the current system is a delicate house of cards waiting for a strong gust of wind. They do not watch the news to check the price of oil. They look at the global shipping logs. They monitor the maritime insurance premiums. They know that when the insurability gap opens, the trap snaps shut violently. This is not an accident. It is a mathematical certainty built into the system. You might be thinking that your government will step in to fix this problem. You might believe they have emergency reserves designed to save you. But here is the disturbing reality. The system is designed to sacrifice the average consumer to protect the financial elites. When the trap closes, your paper money loses its ultimate power. A large stack of cash cannot buy bread that simply does not exist. A high-limit credit card cannot start a vehicle with no fuel. This transforms money from a tool of survival into a useless illusion. But here is what the 1% are not telling you on the evening news. The dramatic oil shock you see on television is just a distraction. The reporters want you looking closely at the gas pump. The real Big Bang is not happening in the ocean. The real Big Bang is happening right now in the global bond market. Welcome to the Architect's Reveal. Ask yourself a very simple, logical question. When the massive crisis hit the Strait of Hormuz, why did the most powerful militaries in the world hesitate? Why did the Pentagon pause its operations? Why was Beijing completely silent? You would naturally expect massive armies to rush in and secure the precious oil supply, but they did not. They froze in place. They froze because they are absolutely terrified of the Hormuz Trap. Let me introduce you to something called Protocol 7. Do not forget that name. Protocol 7 is the hidden reason your bank account is in extreme danger right now. I will explain exactly what this protocol is shortly, but first, you deeply need to understand the mechanics of the trap. If a hostile nation in the Middle East is pushed into a desperate corner, they do not need to win a traditional military war against a superpower. Winning a conventional war takes millions of armed soldiers and trillions of dollars. They do not need any of that. They only need to sink 3 specific massive cargo ships in the narrowest part of the shipping lane. Just 3 giant pieces of metal resting permanently at the bottom of the sea. That is all it takes to physically block the throat of the global economy. This is not a wild conspiracy theory cooked up on the internet. This is a highly classified, well-known military simulation called Operation Burning Sea. Every single major government knows about Operation Burning Sea. They know that physically clearing those sunken ships would take months or possibly years while operating constantly under enemy fire. It is an unwinnable scenario. It is the ultimate geopolitical checkmate. Because of this terrifying reality, the political superpowers are paralyzed. But while the politicians are paralyzed by fear, the global financial elites have been extremely busy. For the last 2 full years, the smartest money in the world has been actively executing a silent, highly coordinated escape plan. Elite hedge funds and billionaires have been quietly dumping their traditional paper assets. They are rapidly selling corporate stocks, they are abandoning government bonds, and they are aggressively moving their massive wealth into something called physical sovereignty. What exactly is physical sovereignty? It means owning real things that cannot be deleted by a computer glitch or destroyed by a banking collapse. It means acquiring physical gold, industrial silver, productive agricultural farmland, and critical energy minerals. They are literally buying the physical earth beneath our feet. Why are they doing this so urgently? Because they knew a secret that you did not. They knew that the year 2026 was the hidden, hard expiration date for the petrodollar system. For the last 50 years, the entire global economy has been built on one single unbreakable rule. If you want to buy oil anywhere in the world, you must use United States dollars. This brilliant system forces every single country on Earth to hold billions of dollars in their national central banks. It gave the dollar absolute, unchecked power. It made the dollar the ultimate safe haven for wealth. But the elite architects of finance knew this system was fatally flawed. They knew that the exact moment the oil stopped flowing through the strait, the global demand for dollars would violently crash. While you were watching the nightly news and worrying about the rising price of gas, the elites were actively preparing for the death of the dollar. We were constantly told that the government printing endless amounts of money would save us during a crisis. We foolishly believed that quantitative easing and government stimulus checks were the ultimate solution to our problems. But here is the terrifying part, the twist that completely shatters your common sense. The solution we trusted was actually the poison killing us. Every single time they printed more money to fix a temporary crisis, they silently diluted the value of your life savings. They created a massive, unstable mountain of global debt. And now, that mountain is collapsing. The complex, interconnected global debt strings are snapping one by one. The very financial policies we thought were protecting us were actually designed to trap us in a vicious cycle of endless inflation. Now, remember, Protocol 7. I told you it was the master key to understanding everything happening today. Protocol 7 is a sophisticated financial kill switch. It is a highly coordinated, secret strategy developed by Eastern economic powers to bypass the Western banking system entirely the second the Hormuz Strait closes. It is a pre-planned mechanism to instantly settle massive global trade in gold and local currencies, completely ignoring the existence of the dollar. This protocol turns a simple oil crisis into a brutal currency execution. It instantly strips the dollar of its global safe haven status. If Protocol 7 is fully activated, the hard-earned money currently sitting in your wallet loses its global purchasing power overnight. But wait, there is one single, terrifying data point that almost everyone missed. It is the final piece of the master puzzle. Exactly 3 weeks before the very first shot was fired in the Middle East, a highly secretive agreement was signed in the quiet city of Muscat. It was not broadcast on television. It was intentionally ignored in the mainstream financial press. This quiet agreement laid the concrete groundwork for an entirely new financial order. It was a signed, binding pact between major oil producers and massive Eastern economies. They officially agreed to support Protocol 7. They agreed that when the inevitable crisis happened, they would step back and let the old financial system burn to the ground. They set the perfect trap, and the Western world walked blindly right into it. The mystery of the oil shock is finally solved, but your personal danger has only just begun. This is the final chapter, the moment of absolute clarity. The core reveal that will violently change how you see the world forever. The massive oil shock of 2026 was never actually about oil. The missing barrels of crude, the permanently broken supply chains, the terrifyingly empty supermarket shelves. These were all just visible symptoms of a much darker disease. The disease is the financial system itself. The oil shock was merely the engineered catalyst for the great de-dollarization. It was a carefully manufactured event designed to trigger the controlled collapse of the old financial empire. The chaotic war in the Middle East provided the perfect, undeniable cover story. In strict legal terms, it provided a global force majeure. A force majeure is a legal concept that means an act of God. It is an unstoppable, totally unpredictable event that allows massive international contracts to be broken without any financial penalty. The global powers desperately needed a massive, terrifying crisis to reset the broken financial system without taking the political blame. They could not simply step up to a microphone and announce that the paper money was suddenly worthless. The public would instantly riot in the streets. They needed a scary villain. They needed a chaotic war. The conflict in the Strait provided the absolutely perfect excuse to let the massive global debt bubble finally explode. We are currently watching a deliberate, highly controlled demolition of the entire world economy. The system is shifting violently under our feet. We are rapidly moving away from a comfortable world of unlimited digital credit. We are violently returning to a harsh, unforgiving world of scarce physical assets. For decades, you have lived inside a comfortable financial illusion. You honestly believed that the digital numbers flashing on your computer screen represented real, tangible wealth. You swiped a shiny plastic card, and physical items magically appeared at your front door the next day. This was the golden era of cheap and easy. It was built entirely on a fragile foundation of infinite debt and cheap, abundant energy. That era is completely dead. It is never, ever coming back. The critical insight you must desperately grasp right now is this: stop looking at the rising price of oil. The price of oil is a calculated distraction meant to keep you blind. You must start looking closely at the total collapse of trust. Paper money only works when human beings collectively trust it. When powerful nations stop trusting the reserve currency, that currency dies a rapid death. And global trust is currently evaporating faster than a drop of water in a burning desert. So how do you actually survive this? How do you protect your family when the invisible trap completely snaps shut? To survive the coming decade, you must fundamentally change your psychological identity. You must immediately stop thinking like a dependent consumer, and you must start thinking like a sovereign. A consumer relies entirely on the fragile system for absolutely everything. A consumer desperately needs the corporate supermarket, the vulnerable power grid, and the digital banking application just to survive the week. When the complex system breaks, the consumer is completely helpless and terrified. A sovereign is different. A sovereign relies only on themselves. A sovereign builds unbreakable physical resilience. Here is the exact survival code you must follow immediately. First, you must aggressively detach your wealth from the digital grid. If your entire life savings exists only as digital numbers on a remote bank server, you own absolutely nothing. The banking institution owns it, and they can legally freeze it with a single silent keystroke during a crisis. You need real physical assets. You need tangible things you can actually hold in your hand. This means acquiring physical gold, industrial silver, or tangible, productive property. Throughout human history, these are the only universal languages of wealth that consistently survive a major currency collapse. Second, you must ruthlessly eliminate all variable rate debt. As the new system forcefully resets, high interest rates will become a financial weapon used to completely wipe out the middle class. Pay off what you can immediately, and do not take on any new, dangerous loans. Do not be a willing slave to the collapsing banking system. Third, you must radically localize your physical existence. The complex global supply chain is permanently broken. The massive cargo ships are not coming to save you when the shelves go empty. You must aggressively build strong networks in your immediate local community. You need to know exactly where your daily food comes from. You need to intimately know how to secure your own emergency energy and clean water. The immediate future belongs entirely to the local, the tangible, and the real. The comfortable era of cheap and easy has been violently replaced by the difficult era of real and local. It will be much harder, it will be much slower, but it will be authentic survival. You now know the absolute truth. You understand the hidden mechanics of the insurability gap. You see the deadly reality of the Hormuz Trap. You are aware of the silent, calculated death of the petrodollar. The global elites spent decades quietly building this invisible prison, and they fully expected you to stay blindly and obediently inside it. But forbidden knowledge is the only key to the cell door. You are no longer blind or ignorant. You clearly see the hidden strings pulling the global economy into the abyss. The $2 trillion evaporating from the financial system does not have to include your hard-earned wealth. You have a critical choice to make right now. You can close this video, go back to sleep, and passively wait for the lights to go out. Or you can stand up, take absolute control of your physical sovereignty, and prepare your family for the new world. The old system has already fallen. The only question left is, where exactly will you be standing when the dust finally settles?